Hi everyone, welcome to week 6 in English 97. We are finishing up essay 2 this week, guys, which is just absolutely crazy. Can you believe we've almost written 2 whole essays? Ugh, my God. So this week we're going to talk about revising and editing essay 2. So I know your essay 2 drafts were just due at the end of this past week, so if you're feeling like this is going really fast, don't worry, we will again revisit these essays later in the semester if you'd like to use these for your portfolio. But what I'm going to talk about today is how you're going to revise your essay 2 draft based on my comments and also a peer review we're going to do this week. And then also editing for subject-verb agreement, which I don't see as much as I do run-ons and comma splices like we talked about in essay 1, but I think these are also good to discuss. So let's start with the assignments for this week. We have a couple of readings, revision page 113 and editing page 117 to 121. I am going to cut out actually the story we were going to read for this week, and instead in our discussion board we're going to do a peer review, which I'll walk you through in a minute. So in addition to the readings, I do want you to start with the readings and do the exercises in your book, even if you're kind of just jotting down ideas on another piece of paper. But really, these exercises will help you. They will help you, so make sure that you do them. And then the discussion board for this week is going to be a peer review. So a little change to the due dates. You want to post your essay 2 draft by Tuesday to the discussion board, and I'll walk you through how to do that. And then you want to respond to 3 classmates' drafts by Friday. So this is a little more involved of a discussion board than we usually have, which is why I wanted to cut the readings down just a little bit. And then your essay 2 final draft is going to be due on Sunday. Alrighty, y'all. So when you first start revising your essay, I would, take a couple days away from it after you post it to our discussion board. But then when you come back to it, there are a couple things you want to think about. And what we're focusing really heavily on in essay 2 is your organization. So in essay 1, we talked about how, you want to have a clear beginning, middle, and end. And in essay 2, I want you to, yes, have a clear beginning, middle, and end, but then also ask yourself in that middle, in those main points, what order makes the most sense for your topic? And there are actually some really great exercises in, let me see, on page 110 and 111 that'll help kind of explain what I mean. So remember last week we talked about topic sentences. So these are the first sentence in each of your paragraphs. And you want to make sure that your topic sentences clearly say the main idea of the paragraph that comes after. So you can read that first sentence in each paragraph and ask yourself, okay, do these ideas kind of go in the right order? Do I want to put my ideas from beginning to end? Maybe I'm not doing a story necessarily, but I'm talking about in my case, I talk about why I love baking. Maybe I want my most important point first, or maybe I want to kind of group points together. There are some examples of all of these types in your text, and so I really encourage you to think about not just, you don't just have to stick with what you first wrote, that you can really look at your paragraphs like puzzle pieces. All right, and maybe you just got to move them and turn them just a little bit so that they click, right? Because sometimes you might, have a whole different feel for your essay if you move ideas around. So the discussion board we're going to do this week is actually a peer review. So these are really useful because this is where you're getting feedback from other people in our class and from me on how your writing is doing. So what I'd like y'all to do is make sure that you post to our discussion board with your draft by Tuesday, and then you respond to classmates by Friday. So these due dates are a little different, shifting them up a little bit because I want you to have time to think about these during the week so you have time to revise for the final draft due on Sunday. So I'm going to pull up our discussion board. Okay. On Sunday, by the time I post this video, you'll see discussion board number 6 will pop up. So if I want to submit my essay to discussion board 6, I'm going to click on where it says discussion board 6, and then I'm going to create my thread, just like you would normally. What I want you to do is in the subject line, you can just say essay 2 draft, or you can, give it a title, baking essay draft. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my essay and I'm going to select all of it and I'm going to copy and I'm going to paste it right in here. All right. So if I have my document, I don't need to attach it as a file. But I guess if you want to attach it, that's fine as well. But I just want to send my whole draft over to our discussion board. So you can attach it as a file or you can copy and paste it directly here. All right. I want the whole essay from beginning to end. So once you've done that, that's your post for this week. Easy, right? And then by Friday, what you'll need to do is go back to the discussion board and respond to classmates' drafts, all right? So that will take you a little bit of time because you'll need to read 3 people's whole essays, okay? So if you're a slow reader, maybe give yourself a little bit of time to do this. So the questions you're going to answer, sorry, I don't know why my screen is being a little wonky. Let's see if we can figure this out. Okay, so you're going to answer the same questions on each essay draft. So when you respond to someone's draft, you're going to start with, does the introduction sound interesting to you as a reader? You're going to say, I think it does, or I don't. And then how could it sound more interesting? Okay, give some feedback. Then, are the middle paragraphs in the best order? If not, how would you change them up? So you can say things like, oh, I really like your 3rd paragraph, but maybe it should come sooner in your essay. Or, I think your 1st paragraph might work better actually at the end. So give some advice like that. Then, does the conclusion convince you to get involved? Why or why not? And finally, what's one idea you would add? If you were the writer, what would you add to this essay? So kind of put yourself in their shoes, you know, now that you've read it. And if it's something that you are interested in, is there something you know about the topic you would add? And if not, what do you want to know? What's missing? Are there any gaps? All right, so this is going to be the peer review for this week, and that's going to be our main focus because I really want you guys to give good feedback to each other, get good feedback for your writing, and kind of benefit from this exchange of ideas. So once you've done a peer review, and you're going to take those comments and go through the essay yourself. You're going to adjust your thesis, change your topic sentences, move those paragraphs around, add examples or reasons, and then adjust your conclusion as needed. But the idea is that if you get great comments from your classmates and you give good comments to your classmates, then the actual revising itself will be easier. And hopefully by looking at other people's writing, you get some ideas for your own. So the last thing I wanted to mention is that your text does talk about for essay 2 subject-verb agreement. So in editing, once you've kind of gone through and revised for those big picture ideas, what I want you to look at is more sentence level subject-verb agreement. So this is something I don't see as many mistakes in subject-verb agreement, but I do sometimes, particularly if you speak certain dialects of English. So this is one of those cases where the way that you might speak with someone at home or the way you might even text is going to be different than how you want to convey that information in a essay. So general rule, if you have a singular subject, meaning one person, then you need a singular verb. If you have a plural, 2 or more subjects, you have a plural verb. Simple, right? Well, not always. So I'm just going to go over a couple examples to get you kind of in the right mindset and then give you a trick for checking your own subject-verb agreement. So let's look at the it-they test. So for this, oh, that little arrow wasn't supposed to come up. So if I have this sentence here, Tony work or works at the mill, I am going to put either it or they in the place of my subject. So I know my subject is Tony, and he's just one person, right? So I'm going to put it here. And then I can say, okay, it work or works at the mill. It works at the mill. Okay, I think it's works. I'm going to do this again. A machine work or works at the mill. Well, let's see, is that one machine or 2 machines? It's one. So I'm going to say it works at the mill. Okay. You might get a little more complicated, like a machine shop repairman. Even though I'm adding those more words, still the subject is the repairman. And that's just one, right? So the repairman works at the mill. Finally, if I have more than one, like Paul and Mary, I would replace my subject with they. And then I'm going to put they walk or walks to school every day. Well, Mary and Paul walks to school every day. Well, that doesn't sound right. They walk does. So if I put it or they, if I can replace it or they in my sentence, I can check if my verb sounds right. Okay? And this won't catch everything, but it will catch most of them. So these are really kind of simple examples that are really easy to identify, but sometimes the pronouns that we use are a little unclear. So I'm going to go over a couple examples of those. Common mistakes I see is in using words like everybody. Even though I might be describing a whole group of people, it is just one group, so it is singular. I don't ever say everybody are going to the party. I say everybody is going to the party because it's this whole group. The group is going. So again, if I can replace everybody with it, then it is going to the party is correct. Similarly, nobody is singular. Even though it's also a group, it's just one group. So nobody wants to be alone instead of nobody want to be alone. Someone is also singular. Someone saves the day. Because even if it could describe more than one person, is just one. Non-countable nouns, like these are things that you can't just point to and say, like air. I can't just say, oh, there's one air. That's a whole group of things that's considered one object, all right? So non-countable nouns like water, air, friendship, loyalty, hatred, those are all singular. So I would say something like all the water is gone, or the air is crisp and clean, instead of all the water are gone, or the air are crisp and clean, all right? And then similarly, words like audience or team, if you have one group, that subject is singular. Like the audience gave a standing ovation instead of the audience gaves. Teams is plural because you have more than one team. All right. So these are some common mistakes that I see, especially using everybody, nobody, and I often see mistakes with singular subjects. So this isn't something that, you'll run into all the time, but I think it's good to be able to recognize, oh, okay, how do I fix this if I feel like my verb is a little off? All right. The reading for this week in your textbook on editing will take you through some exercises that I really recommend for if you want to work on subject-verb agreement. And if this is something you notice that I'm telling you to fix, then this is something you want to work on. All right. So that's all I've got for this week, guys. I am really excited to see how our peer review goes on our discussion board, and I will talk to you soon.